Hello everyone. I seem to be getting lots of questions lately about, strange Trinitarian claims where, claims which you usually don't hear from Trinitarians. And I think it tells me that they're really grasping at straws. If they got to resort to this kind of thing. This one's about 1 Peter 1:11. And for some reason, some Trinitarians, and I think it's ones that they don't really understand their own doctrine, they'll claim that 1 Peter 1:11 demonstrates that Christ pre-existed. And that's just really quite impossible. And so I'll just read the verse here, starting at verse 1 Peter 1:10. As to this salvation, the prophets who prophesied of the grace that would come to you made careful searches and inquiries, seeking to know what person or time the Spirit of Christ in them was indicating as he predicted the sufferings of Christ and the glories to follow. I think I'm reading out of the New American Standard there. And so these Trinitarians are going, see, Christ pre-existed because he was in the prophets. Okay? Only an uninformed Trinitarian would make such a claim. Someone who doesn't really understand what he's talking about. Because the Spirit of Christ in Trinitarian doctrine is not Christ. The Spirit of Christ in Trinitarian doctrine is the Holy Spirit, which is somebody else. So in their doctrine, the Spirit of Christ is not Christ, but somebody else. The Spirit of Christ is not the second person of the Trinity, but the third, the Holy Spirit. And we know that Peter's talking about the Holy Spirit here, because that's how the prophets of old prophesied. So, right off the bat, they're finished. Someone might ask, though, well, what's he talking about here? Why does he use the term the Spirit of Christ? Well, the Holy Spirit has always been the Spirit of Christ. If you think about it, 1 Peter, in verse 2, he starts off by talking about the foreknowledge of God. And then down in verse 19 to 20 of chapter 1, he talks about how the Lamb was foreknown before the foundation of the world. Then if you go into chapter 2, Peter's talking about how Jesus is God's chosen one. Okay? So the whole idea is that Christ is the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. And so, in the Spirit, it's always pointing toward Christ, always pointing towards Jesus, the coming Messiah. And that's what the Spirit of Christ means here. The Holy Spirit that's revealing Christ, the Christ, to them. And that's why Peter goes on to say, the Spirit of Christ within them was indicating as he predicted the sufferings of Christ and the glories to follow. Okay? The Holy Spirit revealing Christ to them. So it's like when the Spirit comes to the prophets, it is the Spirit of Christ because Christ is what it's all about. The Spirit of prophecy is about Christ. It's about Jesus. And then Peter goes on to say, it was revealed to them. They were not serving themselves, but you. Okay, because Peter is writing to people, after Jesus died and rose again. So what the Spirit of Christ does in the prophets, it reveals Christ. And that's how Peter is using that expression, the Spirit of Christ. It's really pretty obvious if you just read the context in which he uses that expression. So I hope that helps some of you who had a question about this. God bless you.